All right. My name.
You haven't forgotten your name, have you?
My name is Christopher Fields. I'm a master practitioner in neurolinguistic programming.
My name's Ayo and I am a internationally certified trainer of neurolinguistic programming.
Today we're going to go over free will versus determinism. If you're not familiar with determinism, no worries. I'll explain it in just a second. Also, two things in case the listeners are not aware. About 2 or 3 weeks ago, I accidentally shaved a piece of my eyebrow there, and it is yet to grow back. Maybe it won't. I don't know. So I'm stuck like this. Second, my brain is just not working today.
It doesn't look bad.
My brain?
Your eyebrow.
Once you notice it, it does though, because it looks like somebody did a little curly Q thing there. No, I should have mentioned at the end because that's the only thing people are going to pay attention to now.
Now you've drawn everyone's attention to it.
Whatever. It is what I wanted to get it out of the way. I like to discuss my faults with the public, so
oh my gosh,
I'm very open and honest.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I don't even know what you know how you get in. You just play around in the mirror sometimes. You just screw with your face, and then you get done. And you're like, what the hell did I just do to myself? I have a lot of those nights, so I'm missing 31% of my left eyebrow now. So, anyways.
Thanks for filling us in with that useful piece of information.
If you watch the last two videos, it's even worse though. Last one or two videos, I watched it after. I was like, geez, man, I could have at least painted it in, you know, because I don't think this Walmart camera would have really picked up on it. Anyways,
can we get on with it?
So she believes more in free will, that humans have free will. Now, I would go on a limb and say probably 98% of people have or believe in having free will. I myself, I won't say 100%, but I'm over 90% believer in determinism, which means everything you do or think in life is predetermined by your previous thought or action. Like the domino effect. You flick one, and eventually the one at the end is going to knock over, because that is how determinism works. It's determined by the piece before it. Most importantly, I know, with that being said, 98% of people will disagree with all the things I have to say and probably agree more with her, but more than anything, this is going to be one of those thought-provoking podcasts to make you understand not just determinism versus free will, but how things are determined in general, how you can trace them back to their original source. If not this, maybe to something else, and just thought-provoking, just sharpen your brain, you know? I think that's our main goal here. It doesn't really matter what you believe, because whether it's free will or determinism, you're gonna meet your end point the same way. So,
and also kind of give people food for thought in terms of sharpen their mind, but also then maybe go and do their own research. Maybe kind of figure out, you know, which one is more in alignment with their own beliefs and values. Because we won't be able to cover everything. We're not going to be able to deliver everything there is to know on either of the two ideologies. So it's like, okay, well, now go away and think about what do you believe? What do you think?
Well, that's the interesting part about this, because this is why I have like very little notes. It's because nobody knows, actually. You can't say for a fact which one is real and which one is not, or maybe both, or maybe neither. Like, we just don't know. But I will say, to start off the rounds is that there's just as much evidence to prove that free will exists than determinism. Even though the wide majority believe that free will is a thing, but it has the same amount of evidence as determinism. As a matter of fact, I'd be willing to believe there's probably more factual evidence to support determinism versus free will, because free will is just up in the air. Determinism, the belief behind that is, okay, we're now going to take a thought or action and then trace it back to its original form. So I would say that evidence-based determinism wins this game, but the truth of the matter is, like, we just don't know.
Yeah, go on.
Also, so my belief, I guess, from my perspective, I was not always a determinism belief type of person. But I guess you get old enough, you become intellectual to a certain degree, and you're like, let me look into this. Let me look into something that I think is absolute BS. Kind of like flat Earth. I don't believe in flat Earth, by the way. I think it's very stupid. But there's a lot of people that specifically look into it because they think it is stupid. And when they come out, they're like, that made sense to me. I'm a believer in that now. That's how it was for me with determinism a few years ago. And it's a very simple concept. It is, and some of these questioning formats I'm kind of taking from other people that I've heard throughout the years. Now, I'll go ahead and I'll give you a reference after this. I always try to explain the end before the beginning. Anyways, very simple concept. Anything you think or do right now, you have this illusion that you're free of thought, free of choice, and nothing is determined. But the truth of the matter, in my view of the world, the truth of the matter is, any thought that you have or any action, anything you do, is actually predetermined by one of two things: anchors that are embedded into your brain, and or information that is stored in your working memory, okay? Your temporary memory. So, and I'm specifically stealing this. That reminds me, I gotta tell you something later about someone we were speaking about yesterday that I did find out was a fraud, and I'm not gonna mention his name because he'll probably have this whole thing shut down. But
okay.
I came back with facts. But anyways, so I stole this idea, the way this is formatted. But you can ask anyone, name a city, okay? It can be any city in the world. You are free to choose anyone, whatever. So the illusion of free thought that I would say 90% plus of people in the world carry would pick a city and say, I chose that by myself. Free will to choose any answer I wanted to. But determinism says that was already pre-chosen for the following reasons. It was either an anchor in your head. Like, I could maybe quickly say Atlanta because I have a lot of dealings with Atlanta in the past. Okay. Or Tampa, my future home. So maybe Tampa would come to mind. But these are anchors. These are information anchors. And then anything that's maybe stored in your working memory, your temporary memory. So if you were just watching a TV show, let's say one of those 48-hour detective shows. Do you have that over there in England? 48 hours? Okay, I don't know why you agreed with me, but
because detective shows we have, I'm not familiar with like a 48-hour one though, so.
Okay. Anyways, well, let's say they chose Detroit, Michigan, and you just watch I don't know, it's like a 30-minute show, hour show, I don't know. But let's just say you watch the whole thing and it's fresh in your brain, and then you immediately slide over to have this conversation with some stranger or whatever, and they ask you, "We'll name a city." And you know, well, Detroit. And you in your head think, well, that was free will. I chose that all by myself. There was nothing to make me choose that. But the truth is, it was predetermined based off of your thoughts and any possible anchors you have in your mind. So, and if you're not familiar with Anchor, I'm not going to explain it now. We have other videos that it is well, explained in depth. So, pretty much just a burnt-in trigger, I guess. Trigger is probably a better word.
Mm-hmm.
But anyhow, so that's the simple concept of determinism. Like the domino effect, anything you do or say was predetermined by the previous thought or action. So, are you ready to respond? Because
yeah, I'm just waiting for you to finish so I don't cut you off. Like I normally do. I'm trying to be civilized and polite. So I know that we kind of came to this conversation with the belief and understanding that you were very much for determinism and I was very much for free will. However, I'm quite torn now, and perhaps this is it's just an opportunity for just kind of exploring the different ideas, exploring the different possibilities. Because as with a number of things, you've taught me a lot about, different concepts, different ideologies, just in our conversations. And determinism is one of the things that I didn't know even existed before I met you. So it's quite a new concept in terms of like exploration of it. And so we're doing some research into it today, and just in preparation for, conversation that we were going to be having, I'm actually kind of leaning more towards determinism actually being a real thing. Basically,
so this was an easy argument. I guess we can end it there.
No, the jury's still out. The jury is definitely still out, but I think I'm leaning kind of more towards it because it does make sense, but it does also, I think, reduce the human experience down to like a set of predetermined outcomes. And where free will, the understanding of free will is like, okay, well, I've got control over my life. I've got control over the direction that my life goes in because the decisions that I make will either take me down path A or down path B. Whereas determinism, it kind of leaves me thinking, well, I've actually got no agency over my life, because if what my decision, the choice that I make, for example, what I'm going to say right now, is actually not a free will choice. It's predetermined by something that happened a moment ago or something that happened earlier on today. And then that something that happened earlier on today was predetermined by something else that happened previously. And then we just go back and back and back and back.
This entire episode is predetermined. And we can actually trace back why it is. Yes.
But the point I'm making...
Hold on. I just want to open up a little. And the person that clicks to listen to this, it was predetermined that the universe feeds them this information.
Yeah.
It's really interesting. It is a lot more interesting than free will, actually. It is.
And the choice that people make to actually listen to this podcast until the end was predetermined prior to them even starting to watch the podcast.
Yeah, but whether or not they have enough time, like so many factors.
So many things. But the point that I'm making is that if you want to trace it back step by step by step, it's like there's this sequence of events that, like you said, the domino effect, that it's like that first push of the domino was the moment of your conception or the moment of your birth. And then ever since that point in time, it's just been cause, effect, cause, effect, cause, effect, cause, effect, domino, 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 domino. So it's like from the moment of your conception or the moment of your birth, this point today, like this podcast was already predetermined simply based on you and I coming into existence and the people that watch it coming into existence. That kind of blows my mind a little bit.
Yeah, and this is such a hard thing to sell to someone, because the number one thing that comes to mind of free will being an illusion, or why you have free will, is because humans are very ego based. They cannot let go, and I think you just said these same words I had written down here, but they can't let go of the fact that I actually can't determine my future. It's already made up. They have to have that power. Even the lowest on the totem pole type of people have to have that last bit of power. No, I determine my future. Mm-hmm. And then they'll use evidence like, well, what's stopping me tomorrow from going to this organization and completely changing my life? That was predetermined because you listened to this argument. So it's the cause and effect. And even if you look at the universe, and I'm not going to get into quantum physics or anything because I know a little, but not enough to sound intelligent about.
Yes, you do.
But it's all vibrations, and what are vibrations? They're waves. It's like slapping the top of a swimming pool. It's gonna ripple that wave all the way to the side of the pool, and sound, everything works this way. It's waves. Mm-hmm. Why wouldn't you think that your life works exactly the same way? Mm-hmm. And especially the new age gurus that want to talk about, we're vibrating this energy. What is vibration? It's a wave. It's cause and effect. That's what it is. Mm-hmm. There's a small dot in the universe. Mm-hmm.
So I think, sorry, go on.
That's it.
I think that one of the reasons, just, touching on what you were just saying, one of the reasons why people want to believe in free will is that it's kind of like it's based on this feeling of liking to be in control. Did you think it frozen then? No, it's just having a
it did freeze?
No, it didn't.
You froze. Okay.
Yeah, I did. My brain froze. Yeah, just what, like you said, wanting to be in control of their lives. But then the flip side of that is that determinism just kind of boils human existence down to a determined sequence of events. And then it kind of leaves you thinking, well, if every single thing that I do from here on in and that I have done is predetermined, where's the, of course there's joy in the moments, there's joy in the experience, there's joy in the interactions, but it's like now I'm just kind of blundering through life, and it's like no matter what I do, it's going to end where it was going to end on the day that I was born. So
not true.
Okay.
That is the best question to this debate, though, which is clearly not a debate anymore. But that's the best question, and it's the hardest one to get over. And I can explain it. I've explained it a few times before. For one, let's start with the domino effect. If you have domino number 1 and domino number 50, 1 kicks off the cause and effect, it causes 50 to drop. If you remove number 41 and 31 and 29, they never touch, they never hit. So the best advice is to continue on with your life. Do the steps. Listen to the universe. Listen to what the universe is telling you to do. God, whatever you want to call it. Whatever God or the universe is telling you to do, follow. Because it's important to complete that step. Like, let's say drug addiction, and then you went to a drug rehab place, and then you're better, and then now you're changing lives. Had you not been to the rehab place, you couldn't just went from addiction to helping lives. It took that step. Part of determinism, a lot of people believe that, I made the free will choice to choose that place, to go to blah, blah, blah. I believe it's determinism. Regardless, that step is required to continue on your path and hit that end point. Mm-hmm. So these obstacles, these thoughts, these ideas are put in place for a reason. It's not like you can just stop, lay on the couch the rest of your life. But then again, if you did,
it would have been predetermined by a previous thought or action.
But the likelihood of someone studying this and being like, well, that's it, I'm just going to test it out. Not really likely.
You never know. Maybe
for 12 hours, I'm like, I'm over this. But no, there's going to be, I meant to give that reference. So if you're looking for someone that can nail determinism definition, very articulate speaker. Matter of fact, Jordan Peterson said smartest guy he spoke to, which it is if you watch their debates. It's brilliant. But they have very conflicting thoughts. But Sam Harris.
Okay.
If you YouTube Sam Harris determinism, you will know everything you need to know. This is where I actually learned about determinism.
Is it easy to listen to? Because I think that makes a big difference.
He's
Because some of his concepts are not that easy to just kind of grasp unless you're, super intelligent.
He is so I'm a fan of Jordan Peterson. I'm a fan of Sam Harris, even though they have conflicting ideologies. But Sam Harris is a way better speaker. Jordan's a little bit harder to follow, but it's like a narrator. Matter of fact, I think he has a podcast. I don't think I've ever actually listened to it, but very good information. Way better than I can try to put it here within an hour's time. But yeah, that's where I learned about it from, and he sold it to me.
Yeah.
And then it's been like a virus ever since. Now, I will say there's going to be a lot of people watching this that say, well, first let me ask you this question.
Okay.
Well, generally to people.
Okay.
Who told you that you had free will? Who told you? Where's your little library card that says, well, I have the free will? Nobody told you that.
Is it a biblical reference? I know that free will, my understanding of free will came from like my spiritual understandings from childhood, and we didn't read the Bible, but we had a book that we followed and, tried to live our lives and adhere to. And that was where my concept and my understanding of free will came from. So I'm assuming that there must be something quite similar in biblical or other religious teachings and understandings.
I think that's a lot of it. I don't know the answer, but if I had to guess, I would say it's probably more just human-based. It's a lot biblical, which was the point I was getting into. However, to refute that, God in the Christian Bible says, I know everything. I know everything that has happened, is happening, and will happen. I know the past, the present, and the future. And if you screenshot that idea and say, well, if God, the higher power, already knows A to Z, what is that other than being determined? It's so predetermined.
True. It's determined. So true.
It just didn't put that definition in the Bible. That's it.
But then they say, as far as I'm aware, in the Bible and also in religious and spiritual teachings that I was raised on, is that you can dictate and move and maneuver the direction of your life based on your own free will. And I think that is where a lot of people's basis and foundation and desire to hold on to that belief about free will comes from, because it then gives them, like, kind of hit the point home is that it gives them that control over their lives. So it's a nice idea to have, because otherwise what's the point of making these decisions if it's not actually, we don't actually have agency over that? It's just a sequence of events that we're just kind of following through on.
Because life is this theater. Life is this challenge, this thing. Nobody knows what life is. Nobody knows why we're here. But it's a ride. Nevertheless, it's a ride. Okay? It's like you go to the fair or whatever. You get in the bucket seat. You know where it starts and you know where it begins because you can look right behind you and you know where it ends. But instead of getting out and sitting in the bucket behind you, you take the ride. Because if you don't take the ride never happens. You have to go through the roller coaster for it to end. There is no end unless there's a process of beginning to end. So I think maybe the Bible teaches, hey, you still have to write it out. We know where it's going to end, but if you don't write it out, you can't sit on the couch. It won't play out. You have to continue on with humanity. I think maybe that, if I had to guess, I think that is a teaching. People, you got to go be people. You don't have to think about free will or determinism any day of the week. Continue to live your life the same way. We're just simply this philosophical angle is really irrelevant if you think about it. There's still, life is going to continue the same way no matter what. It's just, I think it's all determined already. That's it.
So an interesting. Did you have more points that you wanted to make? Sorry.
No, I just dropped my pen.
Okay. So an interesting thing that came up in stuff that I was looking into is what's if you. I'm not saying you're 100% sold on determinism because you said that you're not, but your majority is. What then is your understanding or thoughts when it comes to things like blame and responsibility? So, for example, somebody commits a crime and it's quite a bad crime, rape, abuse, whatever. In the ideology of determinism, is that person still actually accountable if they didn't have the free will to make the choice in the first place? If that choice to commit this heinous crime was predetermined from the moment of their conception or the moment of their birth, by the first action that they took when they were born, is that person accountable?
Did you freeze again? You gotta stop.
No, I'm just thinking. I'm thinking.
I immediately started to click on my computer. Like, what happened?
I'm still here. What are your thoughts about that?
Okay, so a lot of people will not like this answer. Yes, you are responsible. We'll start there. Okay. And I'll also say the answer you're looking for is a lot bigger than what the human brain can compute. Okay, because in my belief of the world, whether you want to call it the universe or God or whatever, in my belief of the world, we cannot comprehend God or God's actions. And that's another ego-based thing, just like free will, is humans like to say, if they don't get it, then it doesn't exist, and you have, it's a hard pill to swallow, but understanding that some things you just will never be able to comprehend it's a tough thing. And I think that's what God is, the universe, once again, whatever term you want to put to it, in my belief is the same. But so I think that's where you're trying to grab your answer from, because that criminal, maybe let me backtrack a second. So going to prison for committing a crime. Prison was determined by crime. Crime was determined by, in most cases, almost all cases, bad childhood. Bad childhood was determined by external factors, or they had a bad childhood, or they had a criminal history, or what. You can trace it all the way back.
Poverty, many different things. Maybe
this is what the Bible talks about, paying the debts of your ancestors. Maybe it is. I don't know. But I can tell you it is all predetermined. But when you get to the end point and you're a reformed criminal or whatever, you made your mistakes, you pay the debts, the attraction you gain from people that look at you and say, I don't want to be that person. I don't want to do those things. Or the people that you are now intelligent enough to help due to the knowledge of the mistakes you've made. And we've all made them. I learn better by making mistakes. That's usually how I learn, is screwing something up. The power from you, the traction and power you get from making that mistake and paying your debts from that crime or whatever is now equal to or bigger than someone going to get a 4-year college degree, in my belief. So we in society like to immediately say bad, but when you look at the end point, how many lives are going to change because of you making this mistake and being responsible for it in the end point? And that's how I think that's how God works. I think that's how God ripples through the universe, is all these little tiny spectacles that we don't usually think about or comprehend. We just look at it in the moment. Oh, a robber. He robbed this place. He's in jail now. Good. And that's where our thought process stops.
Mm-hmm.
But there can be a lot of positive on the other end. You know? I can tell by your smirk you got something to say, so go ahead.
Say that again. You're
I can tell
I'm
by
smirking.
your smirk you got something stupid to say. Go ahead. No. Go ahead.
You're so rude sometimes. I haven't got something stupid to say. No, it was. I agree with you. I think it. You know, you are right. But just something else that kind of popped into my head was that if we're going to agree that determinism is what we're experiencing, you know, that's the ideological foundation that we are experiencing, then that also means that all of the bad things that happen to us in our life,
yes,
were predetermined from the moment of our birth.
Yeah.
So therefore, we cannot, as hard as that might be to hear, and I think it might be quite controversial for some people to understand.
Yeah, of course.
Is that no matter what trauma you go through, it was actually predetermined from the moment that you were born, that was the path that you were going to go down. Because every single action has led to another action, has led to another action. And that action that you took to do that thing that put you in that circumstance or situation has led to...
Did you just freeze again?
Predetermined. No, I didn't. I was talking.
Yes.
That doesn't mean to say that they're to blame for it.
I absolutely believe that. A lot of people will run away from that idea because they're like, well, if it's predetermined, if my husband or wife's going to die 6 months, well, I want to give up right now, because you have to be part of the game. You have to be part of the game to make the dominoes continue to flick. And well, why would, if we're talking religiously, why would God let bad things happen to good people? Very good question.
Happens all the time.
And this took decades to wrap my brain around. It's actually one of the main reasons I went to atheism for quite a while. It's because it doesn't compute. But you have to start with, and I'm not trying to get into a religious conversation by all means, I'm not. But if we're talking about how things are predetermined, step one, know that I'm just mortal human like everybody else.
Oh, really?
Some days. But I can't comprehend what is bigger or the macro picture of what's going on. I can only what is right in front of my face for the most part. The tiniest dot in the universe. Secondly, same argument. I'm not going to restate the argument, but the same argument for the criminal paying his debts to society. Same thing. There is one bad thing in your life could mean a million good things for the people, family, community around you. It can be life changers. You know, I can read a sad story tomorrow and be like, wow, I think I'm too complacent in my life. I need to chill for a while and maybe spend more time with the things that are important in my life before they're gone, because they can be gone tomorrow. And your mishap sucks for you. Absolutely. And we all have our bad story. And if we haven't, we will one day. But if you can't do this overnight, but you can take time, you can reframe, and you can say, wow, look at all the good that came from my bad scenario. Look at how many lives I changed with my bad scenario. I can only be lucky to do this once again. I know that sounds crazy, but I just think there's a different way to look at it. I think this domino effect that is played out by the universe or God is so big and it's so crazy. Our brains just can't wrap around it.
I think it takes time for you to be able to kind of come through, like, you know, a tragedy or something really bad that's happened, to be able to see those positives and to be able to either make positive transformations in your own life or take what you've learned and help other people. But then even in saying that, that was predetermined. You know, if what we're saying, if we're saying that determinism is true,
Yeah.
That choice that you made to either turn your life around or to use what you've learned to help other people change their lives, or whatever it is that you do with that, the pain that, you turn it into something, you turn that pain into gold. That was predetermined before the trauma or the tragedy even occurred, it's a lot for people to get their head around.
It is. You really got to think outside the box. But that point of realization is part of the process. And a lot of people like to equate this to, that's my free will of thinking, but it clearly is not. You know where that thought came from and where that thought came from. So, but that point of realizing something, say, maybe I was looking at this incorrectly. Let me look at it this way. That's not, I mean, it's your thoughts, but it's based off of something previous. You didn't implant them. They didn't come out of thin air. They're there for a reason, because of something you thought about or something that happened previous to that. And now the next step is based off of your point of realization. It's part of the process,
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm.
I've had 90-minute conversations with people before, and they just don't get it.
But the truth of the matter is, you and I have had conversations about this, and I just didn't get it. I was sold. I think that's a flaw on your... No, I'm only joking. Joking.
Well, look at you now!
But I think it was... Maybe I just wasn't ready to hear it when we had the big conversations previously. And I think now that I've done my own research into it and I've kind of had time to digest it in a different way, without, other interaction, just me, YouTube, me and articles, digesting the information, maybe it sinks in, it makes sense.
I should be
we have had long conversations about this before.
I should be, based off of that standard, I should be the leader of a cult church, which I just wrote down because I'm going to look into it later. I am done with my notes, though. They are complete.
Too. Me too. So, for today,
I think. Yeah, we might end. Well, we might be ahead because we have yet, knock on wood, to have to edit something out because it's just been inappropriately said. I know we're both talking about me, but but I've been clear so far. So.
It's been good. It's been good. So yeah, we invite you to ask any questions, to go out and do your own research, look at determinism, look at free will, see whether what you find changes your perception and you start to think about things in a different way, and what difference that makes, who knows. But if it is determinism, then that was all predetermined before you watched this anyway.
Yeah, and to sum up, two last things. For one, I want to restate that name, Sam Harris on YouTube, Determinism. Yeah. He's like a brain scientist, or he's something like that. I can't remember, but and gosh, my brain sucks. What was the second part? This podcast wasn't to make you believe anything. Who cares what you believe? Who cares what I believe? It was simply thought-provoking. These are the things that conflict with each other. Have you ever thought about this other thing? And it's very applicable. And we're not going to go over it today, but this is kind of the general rule behind NLP, is that everything is not predetermined per se, but your behaviors are caused by your thought processes, or maybe negative anchors in your past, or negative relationships, etc., etc. So it's very similar to how determinism works. Would you agree?
Yes.
Yeah, of course.
Absolutely. Absolutely. But there's another point that I wanted to make, which is that there is another ideology that believes that free will and determinism can simultaneously coexist. And I can't remember the name of it. It begins with a C. And I was just having a look to see if I can find compatible.
I don't want to open that door. And I've never heard of it.
Compatibilism is what it's called.
Compatibilism.
Compatibilism. Yeah.
Okay, I want to know who came up with this. That is the dumbest thing I've ever heard. Because they're compatible. What an original name to name something.
I don't know. But yeah, I
I'm not
forgot
buying
to. I
I will
forgot
look into it
to.
for
I'm
that.
not sure how. I'm not sure how they can coexist because they are opposing ideologies. So how can opposing ideologies coexist?
Well, you know for a fact, I'm always one to say, just because one thing isn't one, it's going to be the other, and vice versa. Sometimes it's both or neither,
Do
answer-wise.
you?
But I mean, you gotta, I haven't read up on this yet, but I can go ahead and assure you that they're going to be reaching on their answers. But anyways.
So
Hopefully my mic comes out good. This is a new mic. The last one I recorded did not turn out good. If this one doesn't turn out good, then we'll know for sure that it's crap.
no, that sounds good. This one, it sounds good this time. Maybe the change in settings has helped. So awesome. Okay.
All right. Cool.
Thanks for watching.
See you later.